Welcome back. Well, another few weeks have gone by, and a lot more projects are getting to FID, which is great. It's nice to see that the industry is kind of coming back to life and not being hampered by all the geopolitical events. New supply is always good because new supply indicates that there's new demand. I know there's been a lot of people talking about, oh, there's going to be a massive surplus and the new supply, etc. And I just don't buy it. I've been in the industry now, God, I don't know, 30 years. And we've always talked about a surplus 3 years away. I don't think there's ever been a time when the end of the world wasn't happening in 3 years from now. And needless to say, it didn't happen. In the last 10 years, the only time I can quote unquote recall a surplus, if there is such a thing, was in a couple of weeks right after COVID when we had to shut in some US supply, only for a very short time. So rest assured, a lot of consultants out there make a lot of money by telling us that there's going to be a massive surplus and projects are going to be stranded and there's not going to be utilized to full capacity. Market always meets in the middle, supply and demand always meet, and there's always a certain price that things clear at. So I don't buy this surplus argument. I think when the LNG production does increase, as it will in a couple of years, demand will increase as well and everything will stabilize. This is not being naive, this is pure economics. There's always a certain price that people will buy that commodity. There's a lot of regas capacity out there, potentially double what the export capacity is, and that can always be utilized when the price is right. So let's talk about the price for a minute. As I've said in a couple of times, I think that the incremental marginal cost, which is the incremental cost of new supply, is going up. I look at the projects in the US. I look at, not only the ones that have just got to FID, but the ones that are trying to get to FID. I look at what is publicly said about Alaska project today and a few other places and a few other projects. I look at potentially the cost, which I don't have insider knowledge, but I'm sure restarting Mozambique is not cheap. I'm sure Abadi is not cheap. I'm sure when Qatar kind of tries to get back online, it's going to have to pay more for the repairs than it did in the past. So incremental LNG is going to cost more. As LNG costs more, buyers are going to have to accept that LNG is going to be more expensive. And the price is set by the incremental MMBTU, so to speak, same as in oil. Yes, we have long-term contracts, but then the spot price or the incremental price does influence those long-term contracts as well. So I fully expect that demand and supply will match. There will not be this massive surplus, and it'll match at a higher price level than we have seen in the historical past. Now, of course, right now with the war still on, there's a bit of a historical high going on. Not historical, but at least a near-term high. Prices, I think, will stabilize. They're not going to be $18, $19 in the middle in Asia. It'll probably be in the $12 to $13, which makes a lot more sense. You can see that supply is not a sure thing at all. Australia is very much looking at a position where there's going to be very little new supply, and all the new supply that's coming online is going to be incremental. A lot of that's going to go to the domestic market. It remains to be seen how Indonesia can really develop anything new. The Abadi project, if it happens, is still very expensive. We'll find out by the end of the year. There is stuff going on in West Africa, specifically only Mozambique. Tanzania looks like it's stalled. The rest of West Africa looks fairly small. Argentina, if it finally happens, that'll be great. But we'll wait to see what happens. There is new projects coming on, FID in the US. Commonwealth, Delphine. There's some others that I hope will happen as well, and that will help the increase in supply. Lots of expansions, and the expansions have a lot of advantage because obviously they have existing cash flow that can subsidize any cost overruns in their expansions. But in the end of the day, this incremental supply will be at a higher cost and it'll be absorbed by incremental demand. I don't buy this demand destruction if it happens because of high price right now. It's a short-term thing. Prices come back down, the demand will come back up. Everybody's very flexible. So here's what I think is going to happen in the Middle East. Now, watching the show for 4 months now, it's clear the war, quote unquote, is not ending anytime soon. But I think what will happen is the US will get bored. The US will pull out, whether Congress requires the administration do that or just the lack of government public support, midterm elections, etc. The US will lose interest. the US will lose interest, and the Straits of Hormuz will be left to whatever Iran and or to a more limited extent Oman decide to do, what to do. I think we need to be ready for a world that there will be a toll, because there's no other power in the world that's going to fight the Iranian dominance in the Straits. If America is not interested in clearing the Straits, no one else really is going to step up to the plate and try to provoke Iran. And what's going to happen is it's in Iran's best interest to keep the Straits flowing so they can collect some revenues. It's Iran's best interest to then squeeze its Persian Gulf neighbors or Arabian Gulf neighbors and say, hey, it's time to share some of the economic spoils. Qatar, you have spent the last 20, 30 years draining half of our gas field, the Pars field or the North Dome. We haven't been able to develop our side of the field because of American sanctions that you have supported by hosting American bases. And so it's only fair that we get to share some of the economic rent going forward. I think there will be a toll for every type of shipping that Iran and Oman will decide and share somehow. And for LNG, it could be $1. I'm sorry, it could be 1 million or 2 million per ship. That's the numbers I've seen. That only adds 25 to 50 cents per MMBTU. In the end of the day, everybody's going to be willing to pay that. If the option is not to have any transit at all or have very high inflated and have the ships waiting around with a lot of uncertainty, people will pay it. Iran will collect a toll. It may share some of that with Oman. I don't know. But 25 cents or 50 cents, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the incremental cost of new LNG that we're seeing around the world. So we are going to see, I think, permanently restrictions in the Straits. I don't see how that's going to disappear anytime soon. And in the end of the day, everybody will pay it. The Qataris will pay it, the traders will pay it, UAE will pay it, and the trades will flow again. Iran will try to squeeze out the lifting of sanctions. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And so Iran will make a lot of money with the toll, and volumes will go back up. But we cannot take away past few months. The past few months have seen a lot of gas disappear from the market that cannot be recovered. It's a lot of revenue that cannot be recovered. Some people have told me, oh, Qatar is going to now discount its LNG in the future to recover the market. I don't see it. Qatar needs to make up a lot of lost revenue. They will probably charge whatever the market will bear. And again, the market will bear what the American LNG costs, because American LNG is the incremental molecule of LNG. And American LNG, like it or not, is going to cost more in the future because capex is a lot higher, labor is a lot higher, interest rates are a lot higher. There's an overheated construction zone going on in the entire US Gulf Coast. And who wants to take the cost over and risk in this type of environment? So I see the world kind of going back to normal with now an added toll in the Straits. And I see that happening within the next 3 months. Within the next 3 months, the Straits will be effectively open, but there'll be a charge. And America would have long gone. American blockade would have long gone. And Iran will make some money and hope will use that as reconstruction, use that to subsidize. And the Gulf states, Qatar and the UAE will pay because they have no choice. That's what I see is going to happen. We may not like it, but I think that's the writing on the wall. Anyway, hope this was interesting. Thanks.